Good evening. Welcome to the live Facebook. This is Martin in here, and I do hope that I find you good and healthy. And as much of what we see in the KLCI market, I think many of you may have followed some of my talk that I did previously regards to our happening in the KLCI, but what's happening in the US side, it's much better. So I'd like to report more of the positive side, and that's what we have tonight, this talk on the artificial intelligence and also EV, and we do hope that some of you will have some great takeaway from it. And sometimes we do hope that many of our Malaysian friends will be educated, at least from a standpoint of knowing what's happening in the rest of the world, and take advantage of the opportunity that it is presented. From our KLSE side, I will do more reporting this coming Friday, so make sure you catch me then on the Friday on our breakfast show. But tonight is definitely what we'll be talking about is the accelerating into the future. Now we are looking possible of growth that we are looking at, and definitely we are seeing that in the EV and AI sectors for pretty much of second half 2023. So I'd like to wish you a good evening. Thank you for coming tonight for our talk in here about looking everything about some of those stocks that we have seen potentially giving this kind of return in here. And tonight the sharing is where is the likelihood of growth that we see in the US market, right? Many parts also we have seen Malaysia is really struggling for that kind of growth. We have seen due to the raise in the interest rate, many of the businesses has also pulled back. You can see the property sectors in the Malaysia is also affected pretty much by the raise in interest rate and also the inflation. But this has not stopped what we've seen. The two likely sectors, the EV, which stand for electric vehicle, and the AI sector. All right, the AI sector, and those two sectors is the focus for tonight in here. And why we think this two sectors is likely to do higher amid of what we have seen last year. Remember 2022, we have seen the worsening of the war, right? We're not saying that the war will end this year, but what do you think, right? I think this is as good as anyone guess where the war is likely to head. But thank you for coming, and do pencil in your support by giving me a thumbs up. So I do hope that what we share with you tonight will help you to make a little bit of money in the coming 6 months, at least we have seen. And those some of my earlier talk as going back as early in February 19, pretty much a continuation of where my prediction, I can say that, or my forecast, and how I see the money is likely to go higher in the second half of the year. Now, I've said before, going back to some of my thoughts and trend that we see, if we did not get the war that we got in February 2022 last year, we will not see many things. The big sell-off that we see, the huge interest rate that we see, maybe we'll see a bit of overheating in here, but that pullback that we've seen, and also the rise in the banking crisis that we see in the US, and right now we have the taming of the inflation from the US side, not so much on the European side in here. That has given a lot of fuel for this second half of the year to go. And let's take a look at some of the trading opportunity. Right now we are still recommending the strategy to be buying on dips. All right, buying on dips, that would be the best strategy going forward in this EV AI market in here, so you will not buy. Now, of course, let's recap the first quarter 2023. At that time, we are almost towards the second quarter in here. There was slowing sales, there was profit disruption due to even with the reopening of the China outlook. They were hoping that China will bail everybody out like they've seen last year, but we have seen so far the Chinese were more focused on other things like building the military presence in here, and also with acting as the middleman, pretty much for the Russian-Ukraine war. That was the focus. The economy did get strained halfway through, and we have seen the GDP projection of a lower number, 5.5, and that has also trickled down to the KLCI, which we have seen almost 10 down bars for the KLCI side, boosted by the foreign fund flow, and you have seen, if you log into the VSA 360, you'll see the foreign funds continue to sell off that we have in here. And of course, not helping is the interest rate rise that we've seen, but we have seen that slowly tapered down in here, and also the financial outlook, which was really slowing beacon. But of course, the US side, the indicators were still pointing on the upside with the green pentagon, and you will see also for the Malaysian side, it is still pointing down. So the red pentagon has been fairly responsive, what we have seen in here, and that seems to be looking downwards. So at that time, everyone was looking for the type of growth that we were searching for, and where is the growth with the inflation, and lo and behold, we had this great news that came out. I think I've shared with you this last week. NVIDIA unveiling more AI product after a record breaking of growth that we've seen in NVIDIA, and somehow the market has pivoted towards that section in here, looking into the AI sectors. Of course, then on the backdrop that we've seen so far, what we have was a rise of the debt ceiling. You could see up here right at the top there was 31.4 trillion in here, and there was the debt limit was suspended for a period between 2013 and 2020, but since then onwards, the market has been continued to rise as both sides of the Republican and Congress continue to do a lot of spending. And keep in mind, a lot of this spending is actually fueled by printing of money in here, right? And this kind of printing of money, like it or not, will add into the liquidity of the market, and that eventually flow back into the stock market, and that's why we see the stock market actually picks up higher. So after the 31st of May, when the Republicans House Speaker Kevin McCarthy managed to negotiate with President Biden, they were able to sign the debt ceiling bill, pulling US out from the major default, and we didn't have the sell-off that we were looking for. And remember, we did talk about sell in May and go away. Definitely this did not happen on the US side of it, but on our Malaysian side we did have it. About also take note, while the US debt ceiling is being resolved, it's only resolved until 2025, and should Biden, being a forerunner, one of the Democrat candidate in the primary for 2024 presidential election, if he doesn't get elected, which I hope he doesn't, because he's really old, and they should find a new guy to run it, and then you will see another repeat what we've seen right now. And pretty much, for those of you like me being an observer of the market, you'll see there are cycles that you can take advantage in here, and knowing, which I've said earlier on, the debt ceiling will always be resolved. But again, the media play to it and got everybody scared, and then the market pulled back, and that was an opportunity to buy. And of course, going back to as early as February 22nd, when I start talking about the AI benefit, before the NVIDIA did reportedly, there were a couple of nice stocks in here: ASML, Intel, and AMD. Certainly AMD, and of course NVIDIA has done pretty well in here. ASML is one of the semiconductors. Intel has done so. So from then onwards, you could see there was a big move that we saw on NVIDIA way from February 22nd, right at the bottom in here, and the market certainly moved up a fair bit in here, and ASML. But since then, from last week that we see in here with the green pentagon, the market has pulled off from the old high, right? And of course, those of you who have the VSA 360 were able to pick up this much earlier with the green pentagon. Now, also want to report the year-to-date performance for the US market in here. So far, the growth sector, tech stocks, has really outpaced the value stock. So you can see from here the green one, right? This is the green one, which is the technology and energy were doing very well last year, December 2022, when the tech sector, the money flow back in here, and you could see value just sort of stay above the large cap stock and the growth stock, which is actually the gray line in here, were the second best. The growth stock and the value tech stock has certainly performed well. So if you had bought earlier on the tech stocks, which we have seen also technology stock fall, one of the highest so-called decline that we've seen last year from June to December due to the interest rate rise, and of course right now with the inflation taming and likelihood of pausing of interest rate that we see in the US, and that's why we see this market green color continue to push up higher and right now. Okay, so of course those of you like me who still believe technology is a way to invest in the US will still have some of these shares in here and has not cut loss, and I think some of your returns are coming back. But of course I did talk about it on the year to year return. If you have catch me some of my comments in here with regards to the Nasdaq, S&P 500 and Dow Jones, you would see that year 2023 will probably have a better year of rebound after we have seen year 2022, which is the last year has a negative return. Remember, any negative return in the US market will follow by a much stronger and positive, and we're only up at the 6-month time frame. We still got another 6 months in here. Of course, if you've been following me every week, we will still be reporting to the end of the year. Some of my evening talk will help you to guide you in the right way. And of course, why is the US stock market going higher? It is a likelihood of a pause is interest rate, and the June meeting, which is another 2 more weeks in here, the US Federal Reserve may pause that interest rate and probably do another 25 basis point if needed in July. And of course, many of you are also hearing that likelihood a declaration of recession will be in the end of maybe towards the end of the year, somewhere in September, October, where they declared a recession for the US market. And usually when you see recession being declared, there's likelihood they're going to cut interest rate, right? Now interest rate in US is around 5.25% in here, so any cut in those interest rate will even push this market continue to go higher and higher. So the tech stocks and the AI sectors, which actually benefited from the low interest rate or even the pause interest, will certainly do well, and this would fuel this market and the growth that we've seen in here. Of course, this growth cannot be just all in the sky. No doubt on the chart that you've seen so far, a lot of these has showed that oversold a bit in here. But what has really truly looking back in time was the ChatGPT was launched in November 2022. And you can see it is definitely one of the technology disruptor. And this company called Chase, I think Chase, I hope I got to pronounce it right in here, was an online educational technology with online tutorial. As soon as the presence of ChatGPT being replacing it here, you could see that stock price really plummeted almost by 75%. And Nvidia, being a chip maker in here, has really benefited up. And while technology, the IT information was just faring well about 25%, but Nvidia was definitely a big winner in here. So anytime when you see any technology disruption, there will always be some winner, there will always be some loser in here. But so far what we have seen in the Malaysian market, everything is a loser, but we do have a little bit of silver lining in here, is the Bursa technology stock. But of course, the Bursa technology stock, many of you would have known that the Inari will be pulled out from the Bursa, the FBM 30 in here, and that is basically no representation of technology, and it is all purely on the banking stock. And that's why you see banking stock many round in US and also in parts of in ASEAN region hasn't been faring very well, and this also means the KLCI will continue to going lower and lower in here. So year 2023 is likely to be a year of technology and AI disruptor that we've seen in here. So why the ChatGPT got so much attention? Because it was one of the fastest grower. I was actually one of the top beginner user in here, and I actually signed up 1 million user in 5 days. That's right, in the 5 days in here. That show you the immediate acceptance globally in here. So you can see from this chart the number of months it took to reach 100 million. Uber took almost 18 months. Then you got Telegram, you got Spotify, you got Pinterest, you got Instagram, which is took about maybe 30 months, and TikTok took something less than that, maybe about 8 months. That's 100 million. But ChatGPT hit 100 million in 2 months. So that's why you're seeing this tremendous growth, and everyone is trying to get into it. Of course, usually this could be considered as more of a fact in here, but let's look at the facts that is going to be presented in here. The technology really moves very fast. Like we've seen in here, Chakes, one of the online educator in here, somehow just got disrupted and got kicked off from in here, and all the valuation is all sudah habis. So that's how this market is in here, and sometimes if you're on the right time and the right place, you will make money in here. Now, of course, why all the big fuss? This is from a Roundhill Investment. Is the percentage of US industry employment exposed to automation by AI. So you can see from the left hand side, office as admin, legal, architecture, life sciences, business, financial operation, community management, sales, computer, farming, protective, healthcare. So all industry, you're talking about something like 25% of it being exposed to it. So of course the lower level in here is on the right hand side here, education, and one of those office admin, especially when it comes to typing and producing copywriting in here, you will see a lot of those has been replaced by the AI in here, and that does represent a growth in productivity. And this productivity in here can much be, if you think of it, previously I was thought of hiring someone to do my marketing, writing some article, but now with the generative AI like ChatGPT, I would certainly think twice before hiring someone. Probably even if I hire that person, he also probably end up using that. So this is why how much of a destructive technology that generative AI like ChatGPT came, just like when the internet came. And remember the COVID, when we were locked down, how much of the disruption that we have, but we are relying on e-commerce. We saw a big growth on Alibaba the last couple of years in here, like Lazada, but since then those has started to taper off in here. Now let's look at the AI, generative AI, which is in the category of open AI. Now AI has been around since the 1970s when I first started studying them in the 80s. In the 80s, we know about the AI, but what AI this time is the generative AI is the ability of the artificial intelligence of creating new and unique content. It could be text, audio too. I'm sure you also hear about those what we call fake audio generator, right? That it can mimic your voice, as well as some of those deep fake pictures that you can see, and those are really also keep a lot of the expert not able to differentiate of them in here. And because the generative AI is really differ, because it creates something very new and unique, and that's why you see in the first 5 days everyone was very intrigued with it, and it actually gained almost 1 million users, and within 2 months, you got 100 million users. And if you have not used the open ChatGPT in here, you'll probably be missing some of the opportunity. Now just type it in there. How many of you have used ChatGPT? Now we got some people in the audience in here. If you have not used ChatGPT, then it is likely why you miss some of those opportunities. It's also good to actually know about this development and how much of the intellectual disruption that you have. So type in there if you have used ChatGPT, so I do know that you have using it now. All right, so one of the GAI stand for ChatGPT is ability to create new demand. Now if you look at it, this is from the Bloomberg IDC with round 3. Now the total addressable case for generative AI is 121 billion. That's a base case, and of course if it's a bullish case above me in here, let me just move up, bull case, it will be 148 billion. Now why is this important? Now if you compare to the smartphone, now smartphone has been around for us for many years, maybe more than 10 years I've been using the smartphone here. It is only 380 million. So in the span of 6 to 8 months, GAI were able to generate this new market demand, which we never seen before, right? The demand that we've seen in the 100 million users in the 2 months in here. So this gives a lot of what we call production demand for the NVIDIA AI chip and many of this product, which we will look at it, some of it right now. Only we have one person using AI, that is Joseph, right? How about the rest of the people who's listening? You're not using ChatGPT? If you're not using ChatGPT, then you are likely to be left out. Pretty much you've been left out also in the tech sector, but I hope not, right? I hope some of you will still have those Apple stocks and Microsoft stock and the what are the others, like the AMD stocks, which I've talked about much earlier, even way back in February in here. Okay. So on the category and text and image in here, you can see the text one is where ChatGPT really thrive in here. But on the side that many people don't play is the DALL-E. Right here is an oil painting of an underwater version of the New York Stock Exchange trading floor. You can see in here it will try to generate this art in here, a watercolor version, right? You can see this is water in here, and it kind of be interesting to see. I'm sure some of you also saw some of the generative AI image of Donald Trump being arrested in the Wall Street too in here, right? So those are some of the so-called images that was able to even an AI art has beaten the human, just like pretty much what we've seen in the chess game in here, right? So here onwards, one of the biggest benefiter is NVIDIA, right? And one of the reasons why is because they have a lot of this NVIDIA solution like Drive, Picasso, DGX Cloud in here, and you're looking about, they already reached 1 trillion. Just this was the last one. And in November 2022, NVIDIA and Microsoft revealed plan to build one of the most powerful AI supercomputer, and they announced in March DGX Cloud, an AI computing assisted training advanced model for generative AI, because the computing power chips that it needed is actually used, and that's why we are seeing NVIDIA benefited in here. And of course that also confirmed the demands and the growth with that. And on just May, about a week ago, it has up sales of 19% from previous quarter, where the quarterly revenue actually went up. And those data center, the 4 billion data center, because more and more people using generative AI, and it comes up to meet the demand that we've seen so far. And not far from behind, it's also Microsoft, which also one of the earlier investor in here. I think many of you would have known that for the generative AI product ChatGPT, they also incorporated Bing Chat in here. If you have not used the Bing Chat, I think it's a pretty good product. But one of the product I've seen so far is the Microsoft Copilot, the AI for the Microsoft. So you can do a lot of things with the spreadsheet, and you can even create the PowerPoint, just like using those image that you talk about in here, the AI image in here. For example, create an image for a up market, something like that. They were able to create those in here. So one of the case studies, Microsoft Bing search engine has surpassed even the Google's Google search, which traditionally has been one of the big powerhouse in Google. But right now Bing is coming back, and many of you may have used it. If you're not using it in here, try it out. It's a really wonderful tool in here. And again, from the 19th of February, some of these stocks I have talked about it already. This was way back in 19th of February. Since then, I think Apple has touched $184 there. Tesla, I think, it's moved up to $230. Microsoft, I think, is even higher right now in here. All right. So these are the stocks that we want to be looking at. So you can take a photo of this. C3.ai, AMD, Google. Now do take note, some of these stocks has already run in. Tentatively, if you really want to go in, you usually wait for the green pentagon. That's why I talk about, the best entry was green pentagon. And remember, by the time I talk about these stocks, some of these stocks is already run. So that's why we do recommend buying on dips. Now there's one particular chat called ETF. Chat stands for generative AI, for AI chatbot and so forth. It's a new ETF by Round Hill Investment here, just launched two weeks ago in here, and it has one of the big players of the Nvidia, Microsoft, and Google. So that's one. We'll also check it out on our chart. Maybe let's take a look at one of these charts that I have here, and certainly let's look at the first one. Will be C3. It just has a AI, right? AI being one of the company here. You could see it's actually previously was up to around if you go back to a weekly chart when it first listed, it was way up to almost $160. So the lowest, it was about $11. Now it's about $38 in here. Now this stock has a lot of potential. It does use a lot of the AI for a lot of their application in here, and you can see since right at the bottom, touching the 200-day moving average. It was below 200-day moving average, and remember, when the generative AI picks up in January in here, when it starts to cross over, this is where the market actually picks up. And of course, there has a big drop here because previously the earnings, you can see from here, the earnings was a disappointment. I think there was earnings as the revenue actually dropped. You can see here, right? The revenue actually dropped minus 13% in here, which was a surprise in here, and that's why this stock dropped down in here. But you want to be able to buy on dips, or maybe buy on the green pentagon. That's the first AI. We can also look at next is Microsoft, which is everybody's favorite in here, and probably some of you will probably be asking, can I add more into Microsoft? You may want to add it, but do take note, this stock is already lari a lot. The best time to be in is at the green pentagon here, which is about 303. It's up almost 10% from where it is. And if you had it somewhere down here when it first turned green pentagon here, you bought it around 256. That was actually in March. Okay, and let's take a look at another one, AMD. I think AMD. So AMD here, micro devices, also very similar picture. It actually turned green pentagon only somewhere around here. Okay, 101 now is about 20% mark in there. This is actually a good pullback if you are trading these stocks in here, right? If this was a nice 5%, it will pull back to here. I think the 120 US dollar mark, it's actually a good entry. And of course, those of you have the VSA can switch on to a 1 hour chart and picks up a good entry at this level in here around the 120 mark, right? Park it around there. You can use some of the online trader. And during last week, for those of you who came and supported us at the Invest Fair 2023, thank you again. And there was another broker another broker from US but Hong Kong based called Mumu. They have got a application in approval from the SC, and they are going to be opening up to compete with many of the local broker in Malaysia in here. So check out Mumu in here, and they will have some sort of great platform, very similar to Tiger Broker, very similar to Rakuten in here, and it's good to know. And having this 1 hour chart here, we'll definitely see that this is a nice support. Those of you who wanted to be buying in here, 120 mark, right? And that's AMD. And the other one is Google. Google is coming back. No doubt Google has not been a great stocks that shot straight up in here, but no doubt it crossed back the 200-day moving average, and since green pentagon that you see here, this market were able to pick up 115 to 127, and it's looking to go up. And Google is one of the big players in here, which also have diversification to the Google ads and also the AI in here. A very good buy coming up from a low base. It hasn't reached up, but do take note, some of these is already going up. And I do think from a weekly basis, you can see from this chart here, they will likely to retest back soon the $149 for the Google. Let's look at the MSFT, right? And you can see MSFT has already reached the 340 mark much faster, isn't it, right? Compare the Google stocks that you see in here. All right, also look at Chat. All right, Chat is this stock. Chat is a new stock that just got listed only. You can see on the daily chart, the market is already open. You can see due to the pickup in here, it's up almost 0.99% in here. And of course, Nvidia continued to run. It was down 1.3%. It's up 1.4% in here. So to me, Nvidia has this big gap that it pushes up in here. That tells you, the big rollout product. So a lot of the good news have already been priced in. The other stocks are much better, if you what I mean from in here. All right. So Chat. Now let's take a look at the EV, which is the next sector that we have in here, which in my opinion does give the kind of growth that we were likely to see on the second half of 2023. The EV, or the autonomous vehicle manufacturer and technology enabler plus battery material supplier. You can see there were only 6.5 million electric cars sold in 2021, and of course they expect it to be 66 million. I'm going to show you what is likely to happen on 2023. 35% of them, self-driving car can improve traffic flow by 35%, leading to less time commuting and more productive economy. And the electric battery market continue to grow by over 400%, larger by 2028, estimate to 155 billion. So the electric market is 155 billion, but you can see the generative AI, that one is about 140 billion in here. So there are many makers, of course, you can see from in here, but I just want to draw your attention to one or two makers in here. So this was back in 2019 from the ARK Invest. You all know ARK, Cathy Wood in here, and at that time there were only about 2 million electric car in here. They were estimating 2024 will be 37 million. Okay, 37 million in here. 2024, we are still 1 year short, right? 37. But what we saw, 2023 was 14 million with a CAGR of 62%. So who knows? By next year we might hit 37 million in here. And previously, this forecast 2040 is 66 million. So there's a lot of people really gangbang on the growth of the EV, which means almost every car that is coming out is likely to be an EV. So my question to you: will your next car be an EV car? Let me know what you think. Just pencil those in there. Yet your car is likely to be EV car, but you think of it, the cumulative average growth from 2019 to 2023 is 62%. What kind of growth that you're able to see that can grow so much. It's just that the demand for the technology component will definitely in here. Now if you look at it, the projection will continue to go until it tapered off. We did see the 2040 about 66 billion, so it's really an upscale in here where the cost of the batteries and also the manufacturer do really come down in here, and that's why the strong growth projection that we have in the EV cars in here. Of course, looking from the EV brand, the top 10 EV sales, like it or not, previously was Tesla, but there was some smaller player, I remember, right, like GWC, but BYD came in, and we have seen also BYD presence in Malaysia. I did drop by at the showroom in here. They are still selling some of those top models in here, but by God, the number of people buying BYD cars is a lot. So you can see BYD compare the 2020 first half sales to 2020. There is a huge growth in here. Tesla continue to grow. Only Volkswagen didn't grow so much. GM, but Hyundai has grown 86% with their iconic one of us. Stellar Type, I haven't checked this one out yet. PHEV stand for plug-in hybrid, and this one is battery electric car. So one is plug-in, one is pure electric. Treat it that way in here. Cherry Automotive is just down in Mercedes-Benz, but definitely the Chinese, Chinese, American, the Germans, the Americans in here are some of the big players, and the Koreans so far in here. And of course, in our Malaysian market, we all know the BYD hit 1,000 cars sales in 100 days. So it's not too bad. They're selling for 160,000. I last visited them in here. So for 100 days, and here for like a 8-year battery pack warranty, 8-year or 5-year in here. And many of the new car owners are just amazed by the electronics they have in here. So kudos to BYD, and that's why they are number one bestseller in Malaysia in here. So when it comes to EV and autonomous in here, we have the Teslas, which we all look at it, BYD, and another quite unknown to most Malaysians is Li Auto. All right, Li Auto is another maker we'll look at in here, and also ABB for electrical and engineering manufacturer for producing the recharger in here, and they did make one of the fastest charger in here. Now let's take a look at Li Auto. If you've not come across in here, they are the luxury SUV maker. They just make SUV. You need luxury SUV. You can just Google them, Li Auto. And why it was interesting, just the first quarter of 2023, the company delivered 25,000 and represent a 500% growth from April 2020. So the car sales, which means the auto sales that we see in Malaysia right now, Malaysia auto sales were mainly the combustion, petrol combustion engine in here. But I think going forward, if the infrastructure in Malaysia, especially the charging one, is been resolved, then we'll see a lot of growth in here. This 500% growth in just 1 year, just like what we saw in the EV car yearly average growth rate was 62% in here, and some of the things we saw also on the ChatGPT. So these are the sales is going to be able to push through to the second half of the year. Now this is a hybrid car. All right, a Li Auto hybrid car, and with the petrol and also charging, it can go almost 1,300 kilometers in here. That's a lot. You can almost drive all the way to, I believe you can drive up to Hat Yai, Johor to Hat Yai, Johor Bahru to Hat Yai, that 1,350 cars in here. So check out Li Auto. This one's still not in Malaysia yet, only BYD, and BYD is really gangbang going around the world, and that's why they are one of the largest manufacturer in here. And then of course, those of you who don't want the car can look into ABBY. The code is ABBNY. They launched some of the world's fastest electric charger. It says that they can fully charge you can fully capable of charging a full electric car in 15 minutes. That's very fast, because right now if you want to charge a full to get about maybe 60% in Malaysian one, I was told my son actually took out a Nissan Leaf, you need about maybe 45 to 50 minutes just to get about 60% charge, and depending whether they're DC or AC charger. But with the ABB, with the Terra 360, hopefully one day we'll see some of these chargers. They're not going to be cheap. They're going to be very pricey in here. But just think of it, maybe 4 or 5 years down the road, instead of hearing the 1 hour, the 2 hour that you will stand there just to get your car charged, this one 15-minute charging can be done, and this is going to be good, especially many of you who are looking to travel outstation in here. So right now, going back to something that I did on 19th of April, be careful when you listen to a lot of famous guru. Most important is you must have the facts that is, judging it. And one thing, some of these may be hyped up a lot, so that's why you need to look at the chart, looking of a way to buy on dips, or perhaps the market has come down a fair bit, then you wait for the green panel, go do it. Don't just buy without looking at chart. That is my top my advice for all of it. Now if you look at in here on the chart wise, when you compare chat, which is the AI generative one, and this chat, okay, chat, CHAT, is the ETF, okay, the ETF which just launched in here, and if you look at it, it has outpaced. They only launched on the 18th of May. Keep in mind, 18th of May, coming to it will be 1 month. So it been riding on the generative AI in here. So as of 7th of June, you can see the XLK technology stocks, it's actually trying to catch up in here. But I think our local Bursa technology may have a bit of room to move up. It's moving up. It did go lower, but right now hopefully I do see this market will pick up a bit. So if you have some of your Bursa technology stocks in here, and that's the only silver lining that I see in the Malaysian stocks in here, as long as you can see on the VSA 360, the foreign funds continue to leave, and that's one in here. Now what's really driving this growth is also the lowering, the decline of the inflation rate, which likely to pause also in here. I'm still waiting. Next week we'll probably see the May 2023 of the inflation rate. Right now is 4.93, right? Previously in March was 4.98, so still declining. If you do see a 4.5, and that's going to be good, right? Definitely we have seen petrol prices has come down a fair bit until we saw the Saudis and the OPEC actually cut the interest rate in here. And I hope that what I've shared with you has been very informative. Give me a thumbs up in here to show at least your appreciation for the work that we have done, and going forward I really want to educate in here. And of course you don't want to miss the boat, and by using our VSA 360, if you have not used our VSA 360, our premier flagship product in here, try it out. You can do the 10-day free trial through the on our website in here. So remember last week there was Apple on the 18-day line change on the 30th of May in here, and since then he has moved up. And we also saw last night Apple launched their new AR VR, okay, augmented reality, virtual reality headset, which costs a mind-boggling $3,500 US, which is almost a $15,000. It is actually a computer by itself. It's just that you wear a headset, you don't have a display in here. And I seen a couple of good review in here, but this is the first generation of the Apple Vision Pro. So maybe going forward we'll see a new, more better version like what we saw on the Apple Watch in here, as the newer version tend to have better in here. So let's keep an eye on the Apple Vision Pro. But what it has, I found out that Apple Vision Pro is projected to contribute another 500 million for the next 1 or 2 years into the Apple coffer. And that's why sometimes those of you who have Apple, I'm sure some of you who still have this Apple share, continue to hold on to it. But for those of you who want to trade it, this is a pretty good stock to trade. You can see in here Apple just turned the relative green, and you want to be picking when the LT is purple, which means it is above the strong trend in here. And that's what you want to be riding, some of this continuation of a stage 2, like remember what we saw on the AI and Microsoft saw. And for those of you who are our member, riding into the monthly rebalancing in here, which is we generally cut loss or take profit on the monthly balance, monthly balance. And this is something I'll talk on Tuesday. Has done pretty well. Tesla is up 30%, and from our entry at May 8, Applied Magnetics 15%, Hershey's, which is the oil oil, Under Armour, which is apparel, and then Enphase Energy, which is actually EV, and sort of EV, a lot of climate change in between them. And this was selected on June 1st, right? You can see this stock is coming back in here. Now on the VSA side, we do recommend many of our members as well you to buy on dips. This is where we see a pullback, part of the stage 2 markup in here, where we see a pause in the market before it continues to move up in here. For those of you who's buying our local stock, use the VSA 360 for looking insider buying in here, and you want to see some sort of support if you are switching into a wider let's say we want to buy Nvidia, right? And because Nvidia has gone up 1.7, or maybe let's take a look at Apple. Okay, Apple has pulled back since a bit in here, and you can see switching to a 15-minute chart, right, and refreshing this, and this is where you see a lot more. This morning jumps back up here, so this will be actually a good support area here, 179.50. okay, 175. It has pushed back up to 180, and who knows, by the end it's turned green pentagon. You can see a 15-minute chart has turned green pentagon in here. This was when the release yesterday of the headset. Immediately the headset came out and people just took profit, but it did hold above the 200 moving average. Or you can switch to an hourly chart. You can see hourly chart is still going up, hasn't done green pentagon yet, and then this is pretty good. If it does turn, it's going to be moving up nicely in here, and this is why a VSA 360 plugin will help you a lot more in here, because you already know what kind of stocks you want to buy. And if you are looking for longer term, you can switch to a weekly chart. Let me just bring up the weekly chart. All right, continue to run your in here. You can see weekly chart turn green pentagon at 144, definitely taken out the old high here in December, actually 27th of December in here. And if the anything on the second half of the year, we will see this market continue to hit maybe 220, right? Continue to run that. So there were very small opportunity to really buy. Maybe we might see one in the coming July. So check out the VSA 360 to look for a very soft month to buy, especially on the seasonal monthly in here. You can use that in your benefit in here. All right. So if you are just trading, then take profit within 5 or 8 weeks, going for shorter 10% in here. If you already have Apple and you want to add on to Apple, don't overbuy in here. And usually some stocks do turn after 2 months. That's why I see the potential, the market softening sometime in July. If you miss up, the market might go a bit higher and then pull back. So right now I don't see anything. And remember, there are talks about September and October being the recession stating, so the market might get weakened. But right now that momentum is good. So you want to be up here where the market pull back and the green pentagon comes up nicely here. That's a buying on dip. So these are the stocks that we have in here. Maybe now let's check out, we've seen this, let's check out BYD, which is a Hong Kong one. BYD is 9988. I remember Hong Kong, yeah. This is a future 9988. Oh, that's Alibaba. That's a tricky one now. I can't remember BYD Hong Kong stock code. Okay, so that's the one I need to, and it's 1211. Okay, so 1211, and that's why it's one of the benefit to have this stocks here that you can see. So BYD right now it's looking good. You can see, right, it hasn't break and run yet in here, so you can actually compare this. Let's compare another one. So BYD in here just turned green pentagon. That's a good one. And the other one is Li Auto. Okay, let's put on Li Auto. Li Auto is 2015. Okay, this is 2015. Now I gotta change back to 2015. Li Auto Incorporated. And Li Auto has now you probably notice this has started to move up, right? But the volumes are very low, so you have to be very careful in here. 125 in here, but I think BYD is a much better, because being the world top sales in here. You got 1, 2, 3. So definitely the 280, 290 is definitely going to be testing in here. Just turn green Pentagon. And for those of you who really want to get the kick out of it, you can buy the structured product on the Macquarie on BYD. Okay, BYD, you can trade that one over there. So that's on the you have the regular one is a Tesla, right? Tesla since has moved up a fair bit in here, and you can see from here it's been a very straight up rocket ship kind of thing. Any pullback, you can see today already up 3% already. Wow, so hot tonight. Look like NQ, which is the futures, future, because the green futures is here, right? And you can see Tesla really moving up. So a lot of the automotive, so BYD hasn't been one of the big moves. So BYD looks so pretty nice on me. Nice pullback in here. Then ABBNY. Okay, ABBNY, which is the this is the OTC market, and you can see this one here ready to move up also. Let's shift to a weekly chart here. You can see in here still in a nice uptrend, and going to be testing the old high here at $38. All are really all-time high. Remember, some of these stocks are gangbang moving up in here. So from that, you can see BYD seems to be slightly better taper off in here. So how to buy on bad news? Generally, the same thing. Do the research. Don't be overly emotion, like what we've seen before in here, and know the setup, right? If not, join our premium VSA 360 and go through our online classes and also the video tutorial in here. And usually you want to keep this a shorter term, like 2 months, or medium term more than 6 months in here. Those are something that we will cover in the premium membership in here. All right, and of course our smart Robie has some of this chart in here in the S&P 500, so make sure you download your copy of it. You can also check out the Robie FA list from all that will keep you with the trade VSA charts that we've seen so far in here. So for tonight, my summary is basically buying on dips right now is a good strategy in here. Do take note, the only time that I see that really lengthy pullback is going to be somewhere in the month of July or August, right in here. Diversify to US. If you have not done so, those of you who did earlier in February and March, I think you have benefited a lot more in here, as the second half of 2023 seems to be very good. But of course, the market doesn't go straight up. There will be pullback. That's why you want to learn the system timing in here, allow you time in here. So take profit if you have an old new high, if you have Nvidia, if you have bought Apple in here, and those are shorter term one, and take some profit, and then you look for another entry to buy on dips. So that's all I have. This is Martin here signing up, and if you have any questions for me, do pencil in here. I really cherish your presence tonight, and also your company, and my sharing of the EV and AI chips with you in here. And don't forget to join our Telegram chat room. We have any friends in here that they will too benefit from here. With that, I thank you for your time spent, and I'll be back on Friday on the breakfast show with VSA 360. I'll see you then. Bye bye.